Good afternoon. I'll try to keep it very short. Got some presentation with some data. I'll put it up in a few seconds. But I represent a company called NextChem. We are part of Maire Technimont group, if you are aware of that. So, no, you get me the laptop here if possible. Yeah, so Maire Technimont has started a company called Maire NextChem. So Maire Group is our parent company, and Maire has two companies, Technimont and NextChem. Altogether, we are $6 billion company where Technimont focuses on the EPC side of business, and NextChem focuses on technology, particularly related to green energy and energy transition. And within our portfolio, we are working on the parts like Harsh mentioned, feed. So we are talking around food space, we are talking around mobility, and we are talking around sustainability and circularity. I'll focus today particularly on global hydrogen market. This is fine. No signal. कोई नहीं आप इधर सेट कर लो. We'll continue talking. So within our group, we have acquired a company recently called IDEP, which is for hydrogen deployment. And this is a company which designs electrolyzers. So this company, Electrolyser Designs, basically we provide to multiple companies and even to some companies in India. And they are using our technology to set up hydrogen electrolyzers. My presentation particularly focuses on the data. So I will not focus so much in my presentation around what our company is doing. I'll focus more around what is happening in last couple of years, because 2 years ago we started with a great boom around hydrogen, green hydrogen, but where are we now and how is the utilization pathways? Are we ready? Yeah. Thank you. So again, starting with a thank you to the organizers for giving me this opportunity to speak. Yeah. I'll very quickly start with a summary of what is happening in the hydrogen market right now. And of course, I'll go through each of those elements in detail in subsequent slides, keeping my 15 minutes time. I think 4 minutes are over. So in 2024, hydrogen market has seen significant development with blue hydrogen project growth catching up with green hydrogen. Because when we started energy transition around 5 years ago, there was a lot of discussion around green, but now I think Mr. Balyan also said in the first speech, and then Harsh also said in the second speech, that blue is catching up with green. I'll present some data around it. And in 2024, green hydrogen capacity grew by 33%. So not so that it is not growing, but the size remains small. And the big challenge is high cost of green hydrogen, and a lot of projects got dropped even after FID in 2024. There are offtake agreements. 46% of low carbon hydrogen offtakes are for ammonia, while there are other molecules which are under discussion, but they lack real application platforms right now. There was a significant increase in active FID projects again in 2024, especially in China. However, the growth rate of announced projects has slowed down as compared to what happened in 2023. Similarly, in electrolyzer manufacturing capacity space, there has been advancement, but current demand of green hydrogen, which remains far from 2030, which means that in 2030, if we were anticipating certain amount of hydrogen to be produced, we are still far below in terms of growth demand projections. China's manufacturers are more focused on alkaline, while European are working around on PEM. Manufacturers are facing challenges with revenue growth and achieving profitability. We will share little bit, see a little bit on their share prices. Technology providers and electrolyzer manufacturers are trying to team up to optimize the market, but Chinese players are establishing new partnerships to participate in Europe. So which means China is again pushing through into the European market. This is something which I would say as Forum in India, we need to find a platform, we need to discuss it, so that again this market doesn't get overly swarmed by a certain country and we stay as the follower. But if we see, and we will see in subsequent slide, public funding and regulation, India has been on the front runner of it in terms of public funding and primarily targeting Western nations. More sectors are involved in global hydrogen targets, and definition of low carbon hydrogen is becoming broader. There is funding initiatives for supporting R&D as well as CAPEX. So how does it impact? What is the outcome of these is that green hydrogen projects continue to grow, even if at a slower pace. Cost higher than expected is the only deterrent right now. Manufacturers of electrolyzers are experiencing financial challenges and struggling to find positive EBITDA. But there is an overcapacity right now on electrolyzer factories, not overcapacity from the perspective of 2030, but overcapacity from the perspective of amount of hydrogen people want to produce right now in terms of committed hydrogen. And we as an organization, we as NextChem and IDEP, we are focusing a lot on overcoming those challenges, particularly in terms of reducing the overall cost of ownership of electrolyzer over the next 15 to 20 years timeline and reducing hydrogen cost. So let's see how are the green and blue hydrogen projects coming up. If you see in 2023 to 24 time frame, there is 26% additional projects which are announced as compared to 20% more from 22 to 23. While green hydrogen project announcement still remains robust. Blue hydrogen projects are at mature scale. I think you already mentioned that because of the size available. If you see from 2024 to 2030, anticipation is that blue hydrogen demand will grow faster, but green will remain robust and still a capturing part of the total low carbon hydrogen portfolio. But the challenge is on capacity. If you see, we see a growth in capacity from 22 to 24, but the average capacity size of a hydrogen plant still remains small. And if we look at what happens with the announced capacities, so if you see this slide, the projects which achieved FID in 2022, part of them were actually dropped in 2023, and similarly the ones which were announced in 2023, they achieved FID, part of them were cancelled. And just to put some example, High Store Energy cancelled its project of 1 gigawatt electrolyzer with NEL. The hub was one of the project to miss out US $7 billion regional clean hydrogen hub awarded in 2023. The reason was it was overly ambitious project. Similarly, if you see the project which got dropped because of high cost was Origin Energy in Australia, Ørsted, and Knox Hydro ASA. The project is expected to close, because of financial viability. Yes. So NEOM, super big project, you can say, again, overly ambitious. They have not dropped the project as such, but the project has seen you can say almost 100th scale down right now. Thanks, Harsh, for that. Then the second part is, where is another challenge is where to consume this green hydrogen. Ammonia has been until now most committed pathway, but if we see the other pathways, we are still trying to find the utility. If we see aviation and road transport, they are only looking at 1 to 2% of the total share of offtake agreements. Methanol is still expected to take some space in hydrogen space because of shipping area. But overall challenge is that if we look at the sector overview, the transportation of these hydrogen and then utilization is again becoming a slight challenge. But if we look at what happens here in 2024 in terms of FID, there is a significant increase. 26 gigawatt of electrolyzer achieved FID, and 375 gigawatt is announced. Of course, it will come through in terms of FID in coming years. But how does it impact electrolyzer manufacturing? So this is an interesting slide, I would say. I'll start from the right side, where 2030 net zero target, if you see, we need to have electrolyzer capacity of 165 gigawatt. But right now, the demand projection is only at 35 gigawatt. People are building around 116 gigawatt. So electrolyzer capacity is currently more developed than hydrogen demand. And if there was a step change leading to net zero by 2050 trajectory, there would be a 42% gap in the manufacturing capacity. So it's a interesting balance where if suddenly the demand comes back, the electrolyzers would not be ready. But based on current demand, the electrolyzers are already over supplied in the market. So this is around China's converged on alkaline technology, because China is more focusing on alkaline technology, while Europe and America is more trying to focus around PEM technology. And if we go by IEA, the cost of an installed electrolyzer has increased year on year due to inflation affecting material and labor cost in 2023. Capex for electrolyzers, including equipment, engineering, construction, and contingencies, was USD $2,000 per kilowatt for alkaline and USD 2,450 kilowatt for PEM. However, when we talk about the market, people are talking about $300 to $500. What we have to look at is the overall complete capex end-to-end for the electrolyzer setup. This is, I'm not trying to paint a negative picture, just a challenge around that the electrolyzer companies are a little bit losing money in current times, and except probably Nucera, who is with a positive EBITDA in 2023. But how the industry is responding to it is now the EPC companies are collaborating with the electrolyzer manufacturers. For example, Saipem and Nel, we know L&T and McPhee, John Cockrell and Technip, and ThyssenKrupp within its organization, ThyssenKrupp and Denora, creating ThyssenKrupp Nucera. So it basically creates an atmosphere of complementary expertise. You can have wider geographical access, and you can reduce the cost. So Chinese participants are also entering EU and American market through the partnership, and this is a couple of examples where LONGi and Parrick are getting into collaborations with the manufacturers and local companies. This is something, this slide is particularly which I am very proud of, because if you see in terms of regulatory framework as well as public funding, India is announcing and creating a leadership by around 15% renewable hydrogen quota for refineries until 2026 to 2027. And if we know, recently all refineries have come up with hydrogen on BOO basis, which Harsh also mentioned, where the first tranche went for IOCL to L&T at around $4 per kilogram of hydrogen. And government is also supporting through side program for the funding, which is announced at $2.1 to promote local manufacturing of electrolyzer as well as green hydrogen. European companies like Germany, France, and Italy, they are putting their efforts together. And European Union is also floating tenders through certain German council on buying of green hydrogen worldwide. So if we see the, okay.
4 minutes.
Okay, I still have, when you moved, I thought the time was over. So if you quickly look at it, in EU, demand targets now are applied to industrial sectors, while definition of low carbon hydrogen is becoming broader, because in past the definition was it has to be through electrolyzers, but now they are defining more in terms of number of kilograms of CO2 which is reduced or which is emitted per ton of hydrogen. So if you know, conventionally, when you produce hydrogen from fossil fuel, on an average you emit around 12 kilograms of CO2 per kilogram of hydrogen, but now we are more targeting around less than 2 kilogram of hydrogen. CO2 per kilogram of hydrogen is being considered as low carbon hydrogen. I'll just go through this one and I'll go to the concluding note, where I would just like to say green hydrogen projects are expanding, though the pace has slowed down as compared to original expectation. Mortality rate of projects is high because of either over-ambition or cost viability of projects. Electrolyzers installed cost have exceeded expectation, with many manufacturers facing financial losses. In an oversaturated manufacturing market where numerous electrolyzer factories are operating at low load factor, it remains challenging for any single electrolyzer manufacturer to secure a lasting competitive advantage, except Nucera. But in our organization, we are providing a support through our strategy to focus on technology development rather than investing in gigafactory. The asset-light approach fills the market's needs for reliable and efficient technology while minimizing risk for Maire, as it avoids adding capacity. The roadmap for commercialization of high-depth designed electrolyzer is 5, which is a low-cost, low-maintenance electrolyzer and remains compatible with green hydrogen. And for this technology, we are willing to collaborate with local manufacturers. All in all, the market situation confirms the strategic value proposition of our organization, including electrolyzers and storage technologies, because we do offer ammonia technology, we offer green hydrogen technology, we offer blue hydrogen technology, blue ammonia technology per se, and downstream hydrogen storage, methanol technology, and other applications. So with this, I'll conclude my presentation. Thank you.